Commissioner Sanchez, and Commissioner Martinez. Absent and excused is Commissioner Francis Santos.
Did he go to New York for the
Yeah,
sale?
he went to New York.
I think that's this morning, right? Or did they sell it?
I'm not sure. I'm out.
Yeah,
A little
you know the
fuzzy
drill.
on this.
You know the drill. It's in the morning. But
It's in the morning.
I've seen the exchange. I just I didn't know if today we went to market or.
So anyway, we have several issues for decision. We're going to discuss those today. We'll start with Tom.
Good morning,
Floor is
Commissioners. Good morning. Yes, we have several issues for a decision, and we have the team here to help present them.
Sure,
And
go
so
ahead.
the first resolution, 17 FY24, is a joint resolution with GPA. It's relative to the creation and approval of the position classification specification for the legal analyst position. And Teresa, our legal counsel, will do the presentation.
Okay, Teresa.
Thanks, Tom. Good morning, Mr. Chair, Commissioners. Again, this is the creation of a legal analyst position in the classified status, and it's a position that will be added to both GPA and GWA's CTP list. So the need for a legal analyst position is to readily support. The need for the creation of this position.
Okay. Go ahead. One more time.
The need for the creation of this position is to have a position. I apologize, there is technical difficulty.
Creation of a sound analyst position?
Okay.
Okay,
One more
testing.
time. Are we good?
I think we're good.
See, because it's legal. The mononcle, the good Lord is harassing.
Okay, go ahead, Teresa.
The need for the creation of this position is to have a position that can readily support both the GPA and GWA attorneys really at a higher skill level. So with GWA, there is a legal secretary position on our staffing pattern, but with the Guam Power Authority, there is no legal support position at all. So the creation of this position is to create that legal support for GPA, and then of course to similarly align the need with GWA. So we do have a legal secretary, again, position for GWA, but we don't have a higher skilled position. So basically the commissioners understand that we have, we do have cases, of course, that are before the federal court because both of the utilities are regulated by the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency, and then we do have matters before the Superior Court. But aside from that, we have our normal transactional duties that span all of the divisions, including administrative, compliance and safety, engineering and operations. And there are many tasks that are required of, the legal counsels for both of those positions. So we require, a more skilled analyst in order to better support really the attorneys. And the analyst is a combination, I would say, really of maybe administrative duties, paralegal duties, and legal secretarial duties. So they will conduct research for, again, the many issues that cross our table, and we have issues that come in from operations, regarding ownership of land. We have engineering, CIP procurements. We have numerous issues under, our admin arm, which include procurement, human resources, IT, and then of course there are the issues with compliance and safety, which really span, the regulatory requirements required by both US EPA and Guam EPA. And so there's a lot to keep abreast of, there's a lot to keep organized. And so we are asking the commissioners to approve the position for that reason. So that's really why the project's objective is necessary and urgent. The location, again, will be the creation of position in both GPA and GWA. How much will it cost? We put together the position descriptions, and then we send those duties to Alan Searle And I understand that this is the pay scale that he's come back with. And so it's here before the board. I guess for the 2022 market data, in the 25th percentile for GWA, the minimum salary for this position will start at $61,152 per annum, and the maximum salary for GWA will be $63,635 per annum. And for GPA at the 30th market percentile with the 22 market data study, the minimum salary will be $62,199.57 per annum, and the maximum salary will be $64,725.12 per annum. Again, because it's a newly created position, I understand that the responsibilities, duties, and qualifications were sent to Alan Searle, and then so he's created kind of the slot.
Okay.
So there's a lot of independent thinking really with this position. You know, as the board knows, both positions require legal counsels to make critical and informed decisions under extreme time pressures sometimes. So, you know, we really do need staff here
Sleep 3 hours a night.
Okay.
to
Any
fulfill
questions?
this.
Commissioner Sanchez?
Is it, would both companies be hiring their own legal analyst, or would we have one to support sort of the team, our small law firm? What is the thinking? Is it two people, two openings that more people can leave Attorney General Moylan's office and get a good job, or is it one opening?
It's going to create two openings, one for
One
each
for each
utility
company.
respectively.
There's two separate resolutions. Did you say that there was a legal secretary assisting now?
There is a legal secretary position for GWA assisting now.
That's
Yes.
not filled.
It is filled for
So,
GWA.
so what would happen with that position? That position would be eliminated?
No, it would still stay on our staffing pattern. That's my understanding. But again, we require more assistance above the skill set of the legal secretary.
No, I think Commissioner Chalco's question is valid. You know, in other words, if you get the legal analyst that you're looking for, your legal what's the title?
Analyst.
Legal analyst.
Yeah.
Then you need a legal secretary. And
Or do you need
for-
two
for-
legal analysts
Well,
plus the legal
I
secretary?
would argue that the legal analyst is one that I would say each lawyer would want.
Right.
Because they have different, you know, if you have one, then they're both turning to one legal analyst and saying, hey, can you do this research for me? It can get kind of not so good, but I think, you know, right now, the legal secretary, remember when we were doing our board secretary? The legal secretary really for the GPA lawyer was the board secretary,
For a long time.
just functioning as that.
Yeah.
Now, I'd like to suggest that the two general managers consider eliminating the legal secretary position, because you have other secretarial support staff and clerical staff that can support your legal analysts, you know, when you need them. So I think, to me, I agree. To me, you really need somebody with greater legal skills to do research and to do that other stuff for you. And I think that's my suggestion. So by next Tuesday, when we have our meeting, kind of ask the two general, I would ask that the two general managers consider that maybe, you know,
We'll create the position.
we'll create the
nonetheless.
decisions, but, you know, and this would free up our board secretary to just be the board secretary now.
Or just
And-
hire one to support both of you and keep your existing legal secretary. I mean, grow your law firm, we'll create the position, but grow your law firm a little slower.
Yeah.
We can
So
We know you're
ask-
busy, but
explore that request
Explore
and
that
and the
and-
requirements, and we'll confer with our respective HR divisions.
Okay. Any other? Sure, Commissioner. Sanchez.
So what would be the minimum qualification? It has to be a...
The minimum qualifications.
Is this legal analyst like the equivalent of a paralegal, or?
Yeah, I
So,
think it is.
In some respects, but not in every respect. So with our legal, okay, so in my experience with the paralegals that I've worked with, paralegals have been mostly tasked with research and preparing memorandum. The paralegals aren't usually tasked with any court filings. Paralegals aren't usually tasked with maybe organization of, kind of case or task. And so we need our legal analysts to be able to ensure that I guess our legal docket, so to speak, is organized. And I know, strictly speaking, we only have so many cases, but we have many, many issues within the respective divisions, that come before the attorneys. So I've never had paralegals who actually file, I guess motions or documents to court. They simply prepare the research, and usually it's a legal administrative assistant or a legal secretary who takes care of that. I would rely on the legal analyst to take care of that. And I know when we say filing, it sounds rather simple, but because we have cases in the U.S. District Court, the filing system is actually strictly online, and they use it's called a PACER system to make their filings, and it is quite complex. Many times, we're required to call into the court for assistance. They don't normally welcome walk-in paper filings, not nowadays. So you really have to understand their system and the local rules of each of the courts to make the filing. So we need a legal analyst as well to be comfortable, to communicate with the court personnel and understand technology, really, and so they can apply necessary skills in order to ensure that we have filings that are made. So, okay. And so the minimum experience and training according to the position that's being created is completion of a paralegal program approved by the ABA or graduation from a recognized college or university with a bachelor's in legal studies, criminal justice, or a related field, and 2 years of law-related experience, or graduation from a recognized college with an associate's degree in paralegal studies, criminal justice, or related field, and 3 years of legal experience, or any equivalent combination, I guess, of the experience which is outlined in A, B, and C, of which I just read. And training, I guess, which provides that minimum knowledge, ability, and skill set. So this is put together by HR. Any questions on the specific qualifications?
The way this works is if we have any further questions, we'll bring them up at Tuesday's meeting.
Okay.
This gives us a chance to now understand what you want and gives us a chance to review the record.
So I want to be sure, commissioners, that is provided, what I've just read is provided in board books.
Okay.
It has the, okay,
yeah.
so you have
I saw that.
that before you.
I can't see the page number. I think it's 9 of 406, so, okay. Any further questions? None? Okay, Tom, what's next?
All right, Chairman, the next resolution is Resolution 24, FY24, relative to the approval of the procurement of laboratory testing services with Eurofins Eaton Incorporated.
Okay.
GWA's contract for laboratory services, testing services, which are to support our own laboratory operations and provide the needed analysis required by the Safe Drinking Water Act and Guam primary and secondary safe drinking water standards, has expired. There is a pressing need to replace the existing laboratory services contract that expired in January of this year. And so essentially we have, extended the previous contract, and we're just trying to wrap up this procurement services. Where is this located? The services will be provided to GWA through our new laboratory in Upper Tumon. The cost of this contract essentially is $592,000 per year based on previous expenditures, or $1.778 million for 3 years. Implementation date is July 2024, and we'll have an initial term of 3 years. And this, of course, is going to be funded through our revenues.
Maybe you could explain real quick, can somebody explain what the laboratory services, you know, we have a lab, right? So what are the laboratory services? How does that work with our lab? Angie?
So it's augmenting the services that we don't have currently in our laboratory, because you have to get certified for each of the constituents that you're testing. So things like PFAS, all the emerging contaminants, we don't have that. But in addition, like lead and copper, we don't necessarily do within the lab itself. The lab right now currently does all the regular monitoring that we do monthly and quarterly for the Safe Drinking Water Act, but there's certain things like that you'll see on the water quality report that we do not do, that we do quarterly. So that those quarterly reports are the ones that the
Those are the ones
laboratory
we don't do that often.
Correct.
And some of them we don't do at all, like lead.
Lead we don't do. Sometimes we give it to Eurofins when we have a long lead time, but if we have a short lead time, we then give it to Weary. But we're not certified for doing that. We don't have all the equipment for that.
Okay.
But especially related to the emerging contaminants, which we will be required to do de-allergen and PFAS, for example, those ones we do not have the equipment to be able to handle that.
Yeah.
And we also do the wastewater treatment as well. So to be in compliance with the NPDES permits, some of the metals we are not able to do ourselves.
Okay. And, you know, that's one of the things I learned at this last conference, that there continue to be more and more emerging contaminants that are moving from unregulated to regulated. And listen, it's a never ending.
It's like consent decrees, they just keep adding
Yeah,
to the list.
and you know, the cost is something. One of the main messages of the conference this year was, who's going to pay for this? How do we pay for it? You know, how do we pay for it?
I'm waiting for water to get on the contaminant list. We're not allowed to drink it.
Yeah. Okay. Commissioner Chapo.
Yeah, so just a quick question. Have we performed the cost analysis on just purchasing the equipment ourselves in order to perform the tests? If we're spending $500,000 a year, you know, what does this equipment cost? What is it gonna take to get the staff to do the tests ourselves? Have we performed that and determined that this is the better route to go than investing in the equipment ourselves?
People.
I think for some of the constituents, we're looking into being able to do some of that. It's not just the equipment and the
Staff.
materials, the supplies, it's also the staffing and how we can get them certified to be able to take that. But we also then have to upgrade our lab because we do not have certification for certain types of chemicals or constituents, and so that's the other thing. Certainly, I think we should have that conversation about how comparing what it would cost to do some of the testing versus us doing it. One of the big issues is it's a pretty long process to be approved for certain types of testing, so we have to make sure that we are going to be certified by both Guam EPA and US EPA. So Eurofins is one of the few labs that are certified for PFAS and de-allergen and some of the other constituents. So that's some of the other considerations we have to have, as well as staffing.
So I'm sorry.
Just a follow-up question. So how long have we had these contracts?
I'm sorry, I don't know.
Okay, for
More than 3
Tuesday.
Years for sure.
Latest one for Tuesday.
For more than
Yes.
how many?
I think this contract was good for 3 years, right?
No,
First time.
how many, not specifically this contract, how often have we been putting out this contract for third-party testing? Has it been for the last 15, 20 years?
I would assume so. I will get that information from
Yeah.
Mr. Kemp.
Okay, so in the last 15, 20 years, we haven't done the cost-benefit analysis of performing the tests ourselves?
I'm not sure if
Okay,
we've
if you can
actually
find
done
out.
that, but I will find out. I
find
do
out.
know that when we did do the upgrade to our laboratory, it was to be able to increase the amount of, the types of services that we can provide that is required for all the regulatory requirements for both water and wastewater.
Yeah. And one of the things I would point out is that the testing for PFAS, for example, they've reduced that to such a low level that we can't do that. That's why we need this company to do that testing for us. What's the?
Yeah, but I'm assuming, and correct me if I'm wrong, but this is an equipment-based analysis, right? You have certain lab equipment that's designed to measure the parts per million of whatever you're testing, I'm assuming?
One of the issues that we're having, so we wanted to be able to do wastewater surveillance, for example, and we did get a grant from Public Health to do that, and we're moving forward with being able to test for things like COVID and monkeypox and all of those types of things. And our issue is being able to get the supplies on a timely basis, because that was what we were, our struggle here on Guam is to be able to get the supplies on a timely basis before the reagent expires, for example. So that has been a back and forth issue with us expanding our services, is the ability for us to get the appropriate supplies on time. So that's all part of the big analysis that we will do, is how long it takes, and do we have a supplier that will be able to provide us the material on time.
Well, I'm assuming if Eurofins is able to do the work, that the supply chain isn't that challenging. But either way, if we could just take a look and figure out whether we've done any kind of analysis on performing the work in-house compared to contracting, because this is a large contract for something that I think is already partially being performed by GWA, right? There's already certain water testing they're doing in the lab, so it's not a start from scratch.
Yeah, we'll also look at what it would take to be certified, because it's not just the ability to run the test and to do the analysis. It's also going through the certification process with US EPA.
Sure. And I'm assuming that if it's EPA certification related, that there's probably, like you said, some sort of grants that help you get there, right? There might be grants available for that.
We'll look into that.
Yeah.
Let us know on Tuesday.
Yes.
Commissioner Martinez? you
No,
want
she answered Mike's question. So
Okay.
what's up?
to- Any other questions? Let's move on. Tom?
All right, Commissioner Chairman, the next resolution is Resolution 26 FY24, and our AGM for Engineering, Jeanette, is going to present it.
Sure.
Good morning, Commissioners. We are requesting approval for two amendments, Task Order 8 and Task Order 9, to the Indefinite Delivery, Indefinite Quantity Professional Project Construction Management Services Contract. Task Order 8 is needed to perform additional work to complete the 2024 Interim Water Resources Master Plan update, to address the emerging contaminants, modeling updates, consent decree impacts on our capital improvement planning, and required to respond to the questions received by the PUC in review of our proposed 5-year capital improvement plan, and to complete our 2024 Interim Water Resources Master Plan update in the amount of $152,317. Task Order 9 is needed to perform additional hydraulic modeling of the water and wastewater system in the amount of $50,000. This is needed to both contracts. Let me back up a little bit. We have executed this contract back in 2020, fiscal year 2020. And from task orders 1 through 8, the total amount of that contract is roughly $2,563,250. So this is really an amendment to that original contract. And this amendment, one is the task order 8 amendment number 2, and then this new task order number 9. The total amount that we're requesting is $202,317,000, which will bring the total amount to $2,752,672. So we are therefore asking the various findings that you find the solicitation of the water meter supply to contract essential to the continued operations, approves the funding increase from the task order number 8, amendment number 2 in the amount of $152,317, as well as approve the funding for task order 9 in the amount of $50,000.
Any questions? No questions. No questions. Moving right along, Tom.
All right. Next resolution, Commissioners, is Resolution 28 FY24, relative to the approval to procure, design, build,
of the Guam Water Works Authority SCADA, phase 1 and 2. And again, Jeanette, Assistant General Manager Engineering, will present this resolution.
We are requesting your approval in regards to the design build of our supervisory control and data acquisition system. This is a combination of hardware and software that enables real-time monitoring and control of industrial processes such as those used in water production and distribution, wastewater collection and treatment. The SCADA systems gather data from sensors and instruments located at remote sites, process this data, and provide operators with the ability to monitor and control equipment from a central location. The SCADA system really helps and provides the assists and enhances the operation of both our water and wastewater systems, including operational efficiency and cost savings by providing automated real-time data collection, enabling operators to make better informed decisions. Reliability and resilience by providing continuous monitoring, enabling operators to detect system anomalies before they escalate into major problems. And lastly, regulatory compliance by providing timely data for reporting processes, as well as continuous monitoring and recording, ensuring adherence to health and safety standards and environmental standards. With the development of the 2014 SCADA Master Plan in partnership with GPA, GWA has been continuously implementing. However, we have not really a functioning SCADA control center, and the intent of this procure, design, build is really to begin to stand up a fully functional control center as well as connecting it. We have identified over 420 remote locations consisting of water wells, springs, reservoirs, water booster, pump stations, pressure regulating valves, master meters, surface water treatment plants, sewage pump station, wastewater treatment plants. The exact quantity will continue to change slightly as we continue to execute capital improvement projects to improve and expand our wastewater services. At our existing SCADA, we currently operate a diverse array of SCADA hardware and software solutions spanning 5 different brands that are localized at site level at some facilities. We intend to bring that localization at site facilities into the control center, connected it into the control center. We currently do not have this central station, this control center that connects all the remote sites for centralized data gathering, historian, and analysis. Managing these disparate systems with 5 different brands of SCADA systems across multiple facilities have become increasingly unsustainable in terms of maintenance. Highlighted GWA's need for continued investment in implementing a reliable island-wide SCADA system to better manage and monitor the response and recovery of emergency events. In the aftermath of Typhoon Mawar, SCADA expert consultants appointed by FEMA came down here and came down to visit all our SCADA sites and recommended to GPA to standardize its SCADA system hardware and software to better manage the cost and efficiency and maintenance and operation by standardizing it across GWA's facilities, which we hope can optimize training, enhance staff expertise by having more focus and deeper knowledge, simplify software licensing, reducing costs in development and environment, and as well as ensure synergistic features in an equipment product family that are fully leveraged, and of course, mitigate cybersecurity threats by reducing threat vectors. So we intend to implement a system-wide SCADA system in 4 non-sequential phases. Non-sequential meaning because we continuously implement this 1 capital improvement at a time. So phase 1 involves the construction of our SCADA control center. Phase 2 involves the integration of localized locations with existing site-level SCADA to the control center, which may include major upgrade for the systems that has reached its end of service life. And then phase 3 and 4. Phase 3 involves the assessment, design, and construction at potable water facilities. And phase 4 involves the same assessment, design, and construction at our wastewater facilities to install SCADA equipment, integrate each facility to the SCADA control center. So we are seeking to solicit bid proposals for the design build in the amount of $4,853,855. And we will come back to the board to seek for phase 3 and 4 when funding has been identified.
Okay, Commissioner Sanchez, you have some questions.
Quick question, don't,
Sure.
if we can do a little more offline, but just educate me a little bit. So I know with GPA, right, we were able to talk to our assets, right, through SCADA, and I understand how they're connected to the brain here, and it sounds like that's what you're working towards. So when we talk to a water tank or a water well up in GWA, today we have to send someone out there, or is there information? So that's kind of where we're going, right? Is to equip our assets and our home base with the ability to talk to each other. And we're going to use, what do we use? Phone lines or mobile? How do we talk to GWA?
So
we run a
currently-
line, or we send a signal?
So currently, right now, it's site location, so we have to send somebody out to GGO to take a look at the SCADA center that was, the SCADA pack that was installed. If we're gonna connect it here, our overall intention is to, GPA has a fantastic SCADA control center, kind of top of the notch in my experience. And I'm using my experience on some of the control centers I've seen in Los Angeles.
Okay.
So we intend to use the same model by building it out through fiber where it's feasible, because our locations of our facilities are quite different. You know, we're not on overhead lines, we're mainly underground and in very remote locations. So we are going to do a combination of both fiber where it's available and where it's not too cost prohibitive to install new fiber. GPA has a great working relationships with fiber networks, you know, IT&E, and
We
so
drop our
they,
own conduit, is that-
yes, and they do
just
fiber
very separate
swaps,
now?
and
Okay.
they're embracing us and including us in their fiber network. So we work very closely with them. So for example, in phase 2, our phase 2 implementation of our pressure regulating valves, we are installing fibers where it's already located. So, you know, the GPA sent us their fiber network and we're connecting fiber directly. And then we have to evaluate, there are fiber lines that, for example, in Hagatnya wastewater treatment plant, we do have a SCADA that has reached its end of service life. And this approval will require a new SCADA in that system because it's around 25 years old, Hagatnya. GPA doesn't have any fiber along the route, but GPA does plan on doing fiber, I think, in phase 3 of that route, along Route 1 in front of Hagatnya. However, like Docomo has fiber right across the street in front of the Serena. So things like that we have to take into consideration because our IT, you know, data lease and fiber is expensive, so we have to kind of put hand in hand. So right now we're using all combinations of type of communication system, working closely with Chris's team, whether it's a combination of fiber, tropos, or maybe even satellite. We're open to that, and that's why we are seeking a design builder.
Okay. And then if, I thought I heard you, but if you can clarify for me. So it's a great goal, right, to get us connected, right?
Yes.
And to modernize the way
Yes.
we're getting connected. And it's how many years? When we're all said and done, what is this, a multi-year project, and we're going to spend how many millions of dollars, so that at the end of that period, that we will achieve the goals of having all of our assets talk to each other more efficiently, right?
Correct.
And so is this and these different phases you're describing? Excellent. So this is a 3 or 4 year effort?
So this
or how
effort
many
is
millions?
at least a 5-year.
5-year effort.
Because we have to design it, and they have to analyze it and connect it. However, during that 5 years, as I mentioned, we do it one CIP at a time. So even though we're implementing this, it's a separate portion of the phase of the pressure regulator, PZR, pressure zero. We are intending to implement SCADA there, but by this time, we're hoping that when the control center is set up, it can immediately disconnect, right? And so that is our overall intention. For example, on the Upper Campus Tumon, they already have fiber in the Upper Campus Tumon customer service building that's directly connected here. GPA has already installed that. So our overall intention is to just connect it together. And that's what they're gonna design it, really quantify what can fit within the scope. And then we can assess and come back to you as funding becomes available. If our proposed 5-year plan gets approved, we obviously will begin implementing much, much more.
And the 5-year plan budget guesstimate is how many, 4 or 5
I
million?
think it's roughly $30 million.
30 million, okay.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mr.
Any other questions? It's something we need to do. We've known this, you know, GWA's known this for many years, and it's a matter of what do you tackle first? We've had a lot of big problems, okay? No shortage of big issues. So now we're getting down to, okay, let's get down to the other issues that we kind of like pushed to the side to get our wastewater treatment plants in line, to get our wells online, to, you know, to do a lot of the other stuff we have to do. So it's a good project. Thank you very much. Next.
Well, Commissioner, if I may,
Please, yes.
So, 3 times a day are for like the water reservoirs. Somebody will go out there and read at a particular time, because we got 3 shifts, so 3 times a day. Data does go to our systems control center, so we're kind of doing things manually. But with this whole SCADA thing, you know, we're able to see almost like maybe on a 15-minute interval, if you will, the levels at a reservoir. And if it's normally supposed to trend up, you know, in the middle of the night, because nobody's really using water, but it's still going down,
Tells you something.
it tells us something immediately, right? So that, you know, the rovers that are out there in the middle of the night, the systems control center guys can start saying, hey, you know, something's not right. But when we take readings 3 times a day, we miss.
There's a lot of space in between the 3 times a day.
And then we radio we're too late to respond.
Yeah.
Well, we will respond, but it's just, you know,
Yeah,
it's good to.
find out after, a little bit after the fact.
A little bit after that.
And then on, you know, at GPA, they can see, you know, their 50,000 customers online in real time. And this sounds like this is a migration in that general direction. But I was just curious whether, are there, and I can appreciate why, because, you know, where our meters are underground. I mean, they're at people's houses and they've been stuck in the ground. And, you know, we are migrating from an older technology to a newer technology. And in a perfect world, are there water systems that actually are able to see all of their customers' consumption in real time? Or it seems to me that the water, given the sort of the nature of the way a water meter is attached to a building, a property owner, it's a little harder to do what GPA is able to do in real time. But it seems like a technical goal that is something, you know, water companies would want to do. Are there a lot of water companies that are able to see their 1 million or 50,000 customers in real time, where the system is as robust as GPA's currently is, where, you know, they can tell me right now how much power my wife is using.
Okay, Chris, go ahead. give him the short answer.
Of course, she pays the bill, so she can use as much as she wants.
So the short answer is the technology's out there for all the major water meter manufacturers. We're currently actually testing this with GPA. So hopefully we're targeting the end of summer, maybe August, to start getting our first automatic reads in on the system. So it'll actually
At
use
the customers,
at the
the
customer
location.
level. So we've got, I think, 6 meters out there that will start automatic reading for. So the goal is that we would implement it within within this 5-year rate plan. So it's built into that rate plan currently.
So hopefully 5 years from now, we have come a long way and spent, you know, a nice nickel, but it's to make it better.
That's where the big numbers come from.
And this system would be different from the SCADA. It would reside kind of like in a command center environment. It would be in the control center, but it would be specific to the water meters and not necessarily to the SCADA system.
It's a goal that there's.
So we're,
And I
that's
like
where
the
we're
fact
going.
that, I like the fact that you're testing it.
Yeah,
You're
yeah,
testing
they're
it
gonna
first.
plan
We have to
together.
make sure that when we do this, we got the right meter and the right connection. Okay, anybody else? Moving right along, I have a meeting at 10 o'clock.
All right, all right, Commissioner, the last resolution before you is 29 FY 24 relative to the approval of the indefinite delivery, indefinite quantity hydraulic modeling services and GIS support professional services contract for water and wastewater systems. Again, Jeanette will quickly go through this resolution for you.
Sure.
I heard the quickly.
Yes.
Okay.
You do good
Okay,
work,
so-
Jeanette. You're giving us an education. Give us the short answer. No?
Okay, this is just, our request here is mainly, the 2024 partial consent decree requires an updated hydraulic model for property, for capacity evaluation and planning. And then for our GWA water and wastewater systems. And our GIS requires continuous updates in metering, field verification, calibration, maintenance, and data collection of our rainfall, new CIPs, and new developments. Back in 2006, in response to an EPA stipulated order, this is when we first developed our computer models, both our water and our GIS. So therefore, we issued a solicitation of request for proposals, and we are requesting your approval to select Brown and Caldwell as the best qualified to provide the hydraulic modeling services for water and wastewater system, and as well as Duenas Camacho Associates to provide GIS services for field verification of the hydraulic modeling aerial mapping. One thing important about these two is they work very closely together. Right now, when this was established all the way back to 2006, the GIS hydraulic model was developed. Then after then, the GIS mapping, and then the GIS mapping was based on as-built. So there are inaccuracies as we begin to our model the ground conditions. And again, modeling what GPA currently does when they go out and do their electrical poles, they already have a GIS map that they just plug in. So that is what the intent of this resolution for approval before you.
Okay.
Was that
This is a
short
lot of
enough?
work.
I try to make it as short as possible.
No, you did well. But, all of this brings together the continuing planning of GWA and the continuing improvement as we go to be that best-in-class utility in the water slide. Okay? So, and again, I go back to my comment, this is where all those big bucks are gonna go. I mean, it's not just, a lot of this is not just, one thing from EPA, but it's a lot of stuff we need to do on our own side to better serve our customer. Okay?
Before you were all born, I predicted we'd spend $1.5 billion over 35 years, and we're well on track.
We're gonna go past that.
Right, we're well on track.
Yeah, we're gonna go past that.
Okay.
Okay.
One thing in my attempt to be brief,
No problem, go
I
ahead.
forgot to mention the total cost of what we're asking for. We are hereby asking for funding in amount of $2,145,556 to B&C for the agreement and future task orders, and then also requesting the approval of $835,772 to DCA.
Okay. This is a 5-year.
This is a 5-year time and material task order base.
So $3 million over 5 years.
Yes.
For both.
Yes.
So just to clarify, it was one RFP and 2 respondents, or did they team?
No, one IDIQ, 2 respondents. So when they submitted a proposal, they submitted for both services. But what we did is when we evaluate the strength of each of the firms, we understand that Brown and Caldwell, for example, their strength is in hydraulic modeling. They don't really have a lot of field here localized in Guam, whereas DCA is here locally and they have an actual survey, a very prominent survey arm. And so that's what we did. We combined the services, so we split the services in these 2 contracts.
Okay, because it was IDIQ. You can do that. Okay.
And it's continuously for 5 years task order base.
Okay.
Okay. Any other questions? Does that do it for you, Tom?
Well, Commissioner, we can do like the management report if you'd like.
Anything surprising us? Because I just have two questions on the, and I'm not sure if you're prepared to answer it or by next Tuesday. But the toilet bill we finally got passed, do we have any concerns that the governor won't sign it? Just in case we,
I tell you what, why don't we, we'll,
I mean, have we reached out or? Yeah, I mean, I'll ask because some of us can, you know, at least if, try to gain access to the governor, whisper in her ear that so far everybody supported it. Miguel did a great job of coordinating, herding the cats, right? And providing a united message at just the right time, because the first message was we didn't like the bill, and for good reason. And then we got the bill fixed, working with Senator Duenas, and then that afternoon, you all came back and said that was actually the original bill, almost from 4 years ago, from Senator Biscoe Lee. But now the only question is, there wasn't enough votes for an override, but I'm hoping that with the governor's 3 agencies saying we like it, 2 agencies plus ours, that there's no need for any of us, through our relationships, to reach out to the governor for passage that you're aware of. If there is, let us know. If they're not, we're not going to bother her. Right? That was just one. Nobody knows. Okay, no problem. I didn't know whether you would know. I didn't know whether Miguel would know. And Commissioner Santos, as you know, quietly in his own way, just you know, I saw her at a mock night, and I just, but she was next to Senator Shelton, who voted against it, so I didn't want to bring it up. But hopefully we're okay. And then, even if it's not ready by Tuesday, there's a bill to give us $15 million for wastewater infrastructure, but only for decedent lots. Yeah, 15. How does that work? How do you? He's a decedent. You're not a decedent. You're running a sewer line next to it. What, you can't hook up to it? I don't get it. What is the intent? And I bring it up also because when we went for the full borrowing, they didn't give us the full borrowing. They reduced it. You know, they gave us some. They want us to come back. Unlike 20 years ago, where we just, you know, here's the consent decree. Why do you want us to come back, right? But they cut us $100 million or so, and then they give us $15 million. And the way I read it, it's to help decedent lots. And I'm kind of going. The little I know about sewer lines, you run it past people's houses, and we can't say, oh, you're a regular person, but you're a decedent, you can hook up, you can't. I didn't understand, and it's only $15 million. I'm going, well, that's a drop in the bucket, you know? So, do we have did we ask for that legislation? Did it just come up from the body, the senator? Some senator thought it was a great idea? Yeah, and they didn't talk to us about it, right?
Well, there was a request for some fiscal, yeah.
Just a fiscal bill.
No, I understand that. I was just curious whether we had asked the senator to do it, because it just seemed to be such a little, you know, the rhetoric was wonderful and, you know, like they're gonna solve all the wastewater problems of the world, but they said 15 million, and yet when we asked for the whole 600 million or whatever, oh no, you gotta come back, you know, we're gonna only give you 400 million, right? It just, to me, it was kind of a typical disconnect from our wonderful elected leaders. But I just want to make sure, if we ask for it, then there must be a good reason. We're not aware why it emerged as a bill for senators to help us.
At least, Commissioner.
Oh, that's good. I mean, we'll use it. We'll take the money.
You will use the money, but I'm like Commissioner Sanchez. I don't believe we asked for it.
No, sir.
Or we had any input into it.
And the reference to decedent lot, so if they sign it, if they pass it, how are you gonna implement a law that says, please design wastewater sewer lines,
Again,
but only for decedent lots? I'm kinda going.
That's why I don't think they asked us at all
Well,
for
that's
any
right,
input.
exactly. So they
Yeah,
didn't
they
ask
just
us.
put together what they thought, and
Yeah, and yet if it passes, they're gonna look at it, how come you haven't implemented it?
Yeah,
And then how do we implement it? Do you skip otherwise eligible people that could connect to the sewer line just because they're not a decedent recipient, right? I mean, that just isn't, that's a law you can't, how do you implement it? Or then you can't spend the money.
I'm like you, it made great sound bites from their side.
Yeah.
Okay.
Anyway, do your
Okay,
best.
we'll
Okay.
ask.
I'm just curious. Okay, I think you answered it. We didn't ask for it. We'll see how it plays, and
We'll
then
see where it goes.
yeah, if they want to give us 15 million, we'll do our best to use
Take
it.
it and then we'll come back and tell them you need a lot more than that. Okay.
No, I think we'll just take the money and be quiet.
Okay, whatever. Okay, that's it?
That's it.
Okay, I have a meeting I have to go to. Unless, if you folks want to stay and hear management report, you're
I
welcome.
mean, were there any surprises? It looked pretty straightforward, right? There was no, right? The leakage, the water tank lines, the.
Well, Commissioners, the manager's report is for 2 months, May and June, so maybe that's just, something to take note of, because we didn't have a
That's up to
June.
you folks.
I can still read. I'm good. I'm good. Mr.
Okay,
Chairman.
I just need to go to
yeah.
a particular funeral.
So
Michael, you need to
I
read.
have to go.
I'm fine. I can wait till Tuesday.
I-
I could also just read the,
Yeah, I'm with you. I'm just gonna,
We'll just-
there's
we'll
no
just read it.
surprises, right?
Yeah, we'll just read it,
Yeah.
okay?
If we have
And we have questions, we'll bring it up on Tuesday.
And we see every month.
Okay?
Let's go.
So there's no further discussion?
Move to adjourn, Mr.
Motion
Chairman.
to adjourn?
Second?
Move to adjourn? That
Yes.
was you,
Motion
right?
to adjourn.
Second.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Okay, this motion, this